Hello, hello, hello. Hey there, everybody. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time you're watching this. This is a week 1 solo class. It's going to be pre-recorded. So remember, you can watch this. Feel free to watch this as many times as you want to. Skip parts that you don't need, replay parts that you're confused about or want to hear again. Try to use this medium as much as you can, kind of to its benefit. So yeah, we're going to be covering the tune Georgia on My Mind this month. I'm really looking forward to playing this tune with y'all. And, the big thing about this tune is really internalizing kind of a very like slow tempo, the song really grooves. And so make sure that you're just getting into that mindset when working on this solo piece. And so if you haven't already, remember your first homework assignment is to just listen to this tune as much as you can, get it in your ears. If you have a melody really ingrained and know what it sounds like before you start to assemble the pieces, then you have a lot stronger foundation to work from. So I really love the Ray Charles version, but obviously this tune has been done, more times than I can count. So check out, lots of those versions, maybe see if there's one that's your favorite. You can share it on the Slack feed just so we can, really get deep into this tune this month. I guess we'll just get started. I'm going to skip over kind of the first section and we're going to drop right into what I think, is the part where we start to get into a little bit more of technical playing. So we'll start just here on the E minor chord. Now, like in a lot of the tunes before, the melody doesn't always start on beat 1. So we got to make sure that we're hitting the first beat as accompaniment. So remember, nice soft sound. Make sure you're using your thumb, padded part of your thumb, just a nice soft sound. So what we're going to do is on beat 1, we're going to hit that E minor chord once. And then we're going to try to find the melody note on the bottom. That means we're going to roll top string to bottom, just so we can hear that B. And as we hit that note, we're going to shift up to the 7th fret and then hit that note by itself and then accompany, right? So the whole thing sounds like this. We go E minor once, and then we roll, and then we hit that note, this E note on the 7th fret on the A string, and then we're going to hit that accompaniment again. So it's 1, just like that. 1. And the chord we're landing on for this accompaniment is barring. I'm going to get a little closer view here. Barring on the 7th fret, and you want the top string open. So right there. Let's try it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. And chord, roll, note, and accompany. One more time. 2, 3, 4. And chord, roll, note, and accompany. Just like that. So this is where really when the song starts to get a little more technical. But again, internalizing a lot of these movements, starting to get, a sense of what the rhythmic pattern feels like, those patterns are going to repeat themselves through the tune. So 1, 2, E minor, and 1. Just like that. One more time. 2, 3, 4. All right, our next move that we're going to do is we're going to actually drop down to the 2nd fret, and the chord we're going to hold is 0, 2, 0, 2, an E minor 7. Right when we land on that chord, we're going to hit a melody note, rolling to the bottom string, and then we're going to pick up another melody note, the open A string right after it. Right, just like that. And then our resolve to finish that move off is to put my middle finger and ring finger right on the inside strings on the 3rd fret. Let's get a little closer view of that right there. It's like a modification of a C minor chord, hearing the open A string as your melody note, right? So as soon as you make that move, rolling to the A string, finding the open string, and then you're going to go right into that chord for 3 beats. Just like that. You can try it. 2, 3, and go. Just like that. A couple more times. And remember, as soon as I land on that C minor chord, That's accompaniment. So I got to make sure it's nice and soft. I'm rolling to this melody note, playing this melody note on its own, and then finding those inside strings on the 3rd fret. Right? And so if I combine these movements, let's review the first section. We go E minor, and then we roll, and then we move to the 7th fret, picking that string, A string, and then accompanying. And then on the next beat, I'm dropping down to the 2nd fret, rolling through, finding the open A string, and then to this modified C minor. Yeah? So it's like 1, roll, no, roll, no, just like that. Yeah, let's try it together. 1, 2, nice and slow. And chord, roll 7, chord, roll note, and then switch. Just like that. Again. 2 more times. And go. 1, roll, no, roll, no, no. Last time. No peace I find. Just like that. So remember, this is kind of out of, I think this is around measure, let me see. This is measure 3, moving into kind of the second part of the phrase. So I like to jump ahead to the part that's a little bit harder, that we can take a little breather as we move into the easier section. But remember, lots of repetition with, you know, jumping from an E minor chord up to this. And remember, always trying to map transformation, right? We're rolling through this chord, and then as we shift, make sure you're targeting. I like to use the dot on the 7th fret, you know, player side here. You can practice that shift outside of the context of the piece and then move into it. Just whole notes, just like that. And then the right hand work is where it starts to get tricky. Padded on beat 1, rolling to find the melody note, picking up the melody note on its own, accompanying, and then roll to the new chord, find the open A string, and then this new chord. Just like that. Try a few more rotations. 2, 3, 4, and 1. Roll, no, switch, da, da. Wait, before again. 1, roll, no, roll, no. Yeah, finding that melody. Ready? Again. 1. No peace I find. Last time. Here we go. Ready? And no peace I find. So yeah, we're going to be working in this in segments. And remember, if you need to, go ahead and stop, rewind, any of those things that you want to work on. A lot of the left-hand shapes in this tune are, you know, ones we recognize, but, you know, having to do a lot of the right-hand work, manipulating the melody, kind of threading it through is what makes it really difficult. So don't forget, if any of these chord changes are challenging for you, practice them outside of the context of the tune, right? If I'm trying to think too much about what my right hand's doing, my left hand can't really focus on the transformations it needs to memorize, right? So you just work in whole note exercises, moving from one left hand shape to the other. Okay, so I think we take it now back to the beginning, which is the melody that everybody recognizes. Georgia, Georgia. And that one's really simple. We're starting here on the 2nd fret, the B note, and then we're bringing it up to the 5th fret, which is the D note, just like that. And then the next part of the melody actually has an identical rhythmic cadence, that 1, and you hold it for the whole measure. Bum, bum. Now you see how that has the same rhythmic cadence, but the notes are 2nd fret and then open on the A string, B, and then A. Just like that. So let's see if we can just play the melody for a second before we start to add the harmony. 1, 2, ready, 2 to 5. Here we go. Georgia, 3, 4, Georgia. Let's try that 2 more times. Here we go. Georgia, Georgia. last time. Here we go. Ready? Georgia, sweet, sweet Georgia. All right, now let's see if we can add the harmony. The first one is going to be a G6 chord. So what we're doing is we're barring across the 2nd fret, just like we were doing in the last sequence, but we were up here on 7, but now we're down here on 2. So let's get a little closer look here. My pointer finger is barring across the 2nd fret here, which means that I'm actually picking up the first note, which is B, 2nd fret here, when I'm in my bar. So if I roll to that note on the downbeat, then I'm playing that note, and what I have to do is put the pinky down on the 5th fret to pick up on the offbeat. So that's your move right there. Rolling through 2, picking up 5 with the pinky. Now, since this melody is really sparse, it's really just on the first beat and the off beat, right? In between beats 1 and 2. 1, those snaps right there, what we're going to do is we're just going to take the chord we're holding, trying to keep the melody note there, and then we're going to accompany. So we're going to go Georgia, 2, 3, 4. Just like that. Let's see if we can try it together. 1, 2, ready, and Georgia. Again. Georgia. Let's go again. Pinky off, pinky on. Remember, rolling and then playing the A string on a single note melody. I just want to take a second to talk a little bit about the structure, right? You know, in this style of playing, what we're often thinking about is templates or how to approach something, and then we're probably going to repeat that concept or that idea in a different phrase. One of the things about keeping our rhythmic pattern very simple, not making it too sophisticated, not too complicated, not too syncopated. It's all just hitting on quarter note beats, right? Georgia, this is our rhythm. One thing about doing it this way is that we get a very consistent way that we can approach how to play melody notes depending on where they are in the measure, right? So that first beat, that's going to be our first melody note. We're obviously rolling to it because it's contained in one of our rhythmic hits, right? So on beat 1, Jo, we're going to roll to that note. And since the next note is on the off beat before the next rhythmic hit on beat 2, then we're going to play that note by itself, right? And this is if we can kind of internalize this process, that whenever I hear a melody note off beat, that I'll play it by itself. And every time I hear a melody note on beat, I'm going to roll to it. Depending on where it is on the ukulele, I'm going to roll to the A string, the E string, or the C string. Then we can start to have that expectation in our body, right? And that's really the fun part of solo playing, when your body can kind of feel that happening, and it almost does it automatically, right? Depending on where the melody note's supposed to be, you're either going to play that melody note by itself, or you're going to roll to it inside of your rhythmic hit. So with that in mind, let's review a couple more times, and then let's go to the next section, which, remember, repeats the rhythmic cadence exactly, like right to the T. So a few more rotations. Remember, I'm starting here with the bar across 2. I'm picking up the melody note on the offbeat, and then I'm accompanying on beats 2, 3, and 4. Right? You can put that in a loop. 2, 3, 4, Georgia. Just like that. We roll to the first note, pick up the 5th fret on the offbeat again. Nice. Try that 2 or 3 more times. Georgia. Let's see if we can try it a little faster. Go in Georgia. 2 more times. Georgia. Last time. Georgia. Let's try it really slow on this one. Here we go. Georgia. 2, 3, 4. All right, the next chord shape we're going to go to is an A-shaped chord, which we're moving up to the B note, the B chord, here between frets 2 and 4. You might have seen this chord before as like a B flat. If we shift it up 1/2 step to frets 2 and 4, then we get this B flat. Now, the melody, remember, was Georgia, 2 and 0. So when I'm holding the B chord, then I have the melody note here on the bottom string, right here on the A string. If I roll to it, then I hear that first note, and so I've got to pick up the melody note, open A. And so all I really do is just take that bar away. right? I roll to the A string, and then I pick up the A note. Roll to the A string on 2, pick up the A note, and then exactly like we did before, right? Our right hand can just follow that same pattern where it rolls, it plays a note, and then it accompanies 2, 3, and 4. 2 more times. Last time. Here we go. Remember, roll, open, and then beats 2, 3, and 4. So just to review the first section, we're rolling 2 and 5 in a G6, and then next measure is rolling 2 and 0 on the A string in a B chord. So let's see if we can try those two, put them together nice and slow. 1, 2, ready, and Georgia. And now we switch to B, Georgia. Beautiful. 2 more times, Georgia. And Georgia. Yeah, let's put this on a loop. Let's go more than 2 times and just kind of describe something I really want you to start to pay attention to as these movements start to get a little more automatic. Now, if you can get a lot of differentiation between those 2 techniques, rolling and playing nice and sharp, and your accompaniment beats, then it's gonna sell that illusion a little more that more than one thing is happening at a time, right? So you roll the 2, nice and sharp, with a nice pop to it, and then the accompaniments are soft. Roll and pop that chord. Accompaniments are nice and soft. 2 more times. Then finish on the first chord. The kiddo's interrupting. One of the beauties of working from home. So yeah, remember that kind of consistent flow through those pieces. Like you saw, I was looping those sections. Make sure you're breaking your repertoire into these parts that you can start to put on a cycle. And hopefully by the 4th or 5th rotation, you're starting to get a little more into autopilot. Your body's moving through it with your brain kind of managing a lot less. You can start to pay attention to things like differentiating between your roll sound and your accompaniment sound. Remember, that's the thing that's going to sell this illusion the most, right? If it hears a different sound when it hears melody or a different tonality, then it's going to be more convincing that something else is going on while you're doing that, right? That's really the trick with solo playing, is trying to juggle these 3 elements, rhythm, harmony, and melody. And if you can differentiate your voicings in those moments, then it's going to sound more like a band would, right? Different people taking different roles. Okay. So remember, this is the first 4 measures. We kind of started with the hard part. Work them independently before you start to put them together. But since we kind of focused on each of those elements in terms of delivering the content, we'll just try and combine those 2 together now. Let's just do a quick review of what happens in sort of the hard part, right? This E minor here, then you roll, then you move to the 7th fret, barring across the bottom 3 strings, play the open A string, and then you accompany, and then you move down to this 0, 2, 0, 2, and then right after you hit that roll, you hit the open string, and then to the C minor. All right, see if we can play that in a little loop before we combine it with the first part. 1, 2, E minor. Here we go. This is measure 3. 1 and roll, note, accompany, roll, note, and then switch to the C minor. Yeah, 2 more times. Here we go. And chord, roll, no, roll, open A to C minor. Last time, here we go. E minor, and 1, 2, and da, da, da. All right, let's quickly review the first 2 measures. Remember, rolling to the G6 to 5, accompanying 3 beats. And then we go to the B, rolling to the 2 on the A string, playing the open A, and and then accompanying for 3 beats. Now we're to our second part of the phrase, which is the E minor. We drop on the downbeat, and then roll note, and then roll note, and then to there. All right, let's try it all together. Nice and slow. Remember, even if you're tripping up and you're losing yourself in moments, make sure you're trying to listen. You're trying to feel your way through it rather than remember, oh, what chord shape am I making, or where am I in the steps of the process, right? Just really, really listen for that melody as you're playing through it. 1, 2, from the top. Georgia. Go to the B, roll to 2, open A, 3, and now we just drop our hands down into the E minor. 1, roll note, da, da. Let's try it again. 4, and go. Georgia. To the B. Georgia. We'll drop into the E minor. And 1, no peace I find. Last time, here we go. Ready? And Georgia. Ready? Georgia. And then we drop down, E minor. 1, no peace I find. The thing I was noticing as I was playing through that, one of those transitions in there, especially because it's, you know, we kind of worked the part before it to the part after it, you know, like they feel separate in our mind and our hands right now. But in terms of connection, it's actually really, really straightforward how the B chord, especially when you open the A string for the melody note, moves to the E minor. I'll come in close and just show you when I roll through the B and then I play the open A. If you look at my hands, I mean, really, this is an E minor shape, right? It's just in the wrong place. Instead of it being on the bottom 3 strings, C, E, and A, it's on the top 3 strings, G, C, and E, right? And so when I'm making this transfer, make sure you realize that those chord shapes are identical and you just have to move them. It's like dropping down 1 floor on the elevator, right? Boop, just like that. A lot of times we can think about it when it's really complicated, a lot of movements, and then we sort of erase the B and go, what's an E minor? And start here and kind of make the stair step. When really we're holding the shape already. So make sure you realize that as you're making that transfer, those chords are almost identical. They're virtually identical, right? They're exact same shape. All you've got to do is shift them in position, right? So if I'm playing through here and I get to the B, I know when I make this drop, all I have to do is just jump down, right? All my fingers just shift down to that bottom rung of the ladder. That's one thing I really like to point out, because a lot of times we can get bogged down by the technicalities. We can, you know, oh, I've got to do this with my thumb, and here's the melody note, and now I'm going to jump. I got to remember I go all the way to the 7th fret. If we're thinking about all those things, a lot of times we can't really focus on what our left hand's job is, which in, you know, every piece of repertoire, everything you're going to do, the left hand's job is to really memorize the transformation between our harmonic progression, right? This chord to this chord, but not as 2 different parts. It's this chord, how does it move or transform into whatever's coming next, right? And if I can memorize those maps, then I can just sort of take that job out of my brain's hands. I don't know if your brain's hands. Well, technically your brain does have hands, right? But so yeah, if your brain is not in charge of understanding that and really keeping track of that, and your left hand has started to really move through those connections a lot smoother and really without any effort on your part, then you're in a lot better place to start to, you know, focus on other things like making the tonality better, or not speeding up your rhythm, or just listening. You know, a lot of times you don't even have the bandwidth to be able to hear what you're playing if you're concentrating on all of the movements you need to make. Okay, cool. Let's try a few more rotations of it combined. Remember, now that we've started to get the maps, we really want to be listening for that melody. Whenever I'm doing this style of music, I really, really like to sing what I'm playing. You guys kind of hear me singing the melody line. You don't even have to sing the right words, as long as you're sort of making a connection to an instrument that you are really comfortable playing with, right? Which is your voice. And so if I can kind of make that connection, then I start to hear what that melody is supposed to sound like, right? My melody starts to sound a little more like what my voice would do. Georgia, Georgia, nice and long kind of connected notes. All right, let's try a few rotations. A lot of times I like to go through a little quick version of the big movements. I like to go through a quick review of those movements sort of out of the context of the rhythm, just to remind my hands of what they're doing. Okay, nice and slow. 1, 2, nice and slow. 1, 2, ready. Georgia to the B. Georgia, E minor. 1, no peace I find. Let's try again. And go. Georgia, Georgia. And remember, just drop the shape down to the E minor, accompaniment on a first beat. Now we find the melody. Last time. Georgia to the B. 2, open. And remember, first chord accompaniment, just drop the shape. E minor. Roll no, roll no. To the C minor. Yeah? Really smooth. Now I'm going to go super slow, just walk you through the moves. Remember, roll through the A string, pick up the 5th fret, accompany beat 3 times. And then B, same thing with the right hand to the A string and then play it by itself. And then we're going to drop the chord, accompany. We're going to roll through to find it, up to 7, and then accompany there while I'm barring. And now I just take the shape, shift it down. Roll through, pick up that melody note, and then 3 beats there. One of the things I was noticing too, this shift here to this shift here, see how I'm sort of rotating. It's not like I pull this shape off of the fretboard, reform it. Oh, what does that shape look like? If you're making that movement, then it's very, very, separated, those 2 shapes, when really this is the movement I'm making. See, if I can pivot, I really like this technique sometimes, instead of doing the transfer, moving all the way down the fretboard, I just stay in the same place and I just see what my hand needs to do. Really, this is it, right? I'm just rolling, putting my middle finger on the bottom. And so if you can practice that movement a bunch, then when you make the jump, you've got, the transformation mapped out. And now all you do is take that transformation and shift it a bigger distance, right? Let's try whole notes moving from this to this, right? 7, 7, 7 on the C, E, and A strings. And now 2, 0, 2. And then the G strings open on both of those. 1, 2, whole notes. Here we go. And then here. Nice. Here. Cool. So while we're doing this, I'm going to try to incorporate the first E minor chord. You'll notice that all of these are different voicings of the same chord, just to get us around the fretboard better, to find the melody notes, and also to create some kind of sonic interest, right? So now let's go to the first E minor, the one you know how to play, E minor. 2, and now I'll shift to the 7th fret. So practicing these 3 different ways to play E minor, this is a great warm-up exercise, something you can start your practice with, every day this week. And then these jumps, they'll start to feel really, really natural. And even more important, your eyes will start to see these all as E minor. Something you can take away to any piece of repertoire that has this chord in it. Good. All right, let's see if we can take it from the top again. Keep a couple of those things in mind. Here we go. 1, 2, last time. Georgia. Into the B. Georgia. Down to the E minor. 1, and we roll. 7th fret. Roll through that, find the chord. All right, this time I'm not going to say anything. Here we go. Ready. Georgia. To the B. Georgia. And E minor. No peace I find. All right, let's see how we're doing on time. Cool, we're at about 30. I'm going to go to about 45 since we don't have, interruptions with questions or anything like that. We can just deliver the content. I want to go over a couple chord shapes for the next section of the tune. This is a really important thing to understand is that any tricky, complicated movement I can I can sequence down the fretboard. I can practice that in an easier way than it is on the repertoire. In the next sequence, we're actually going to jump between 3 different chord shapes, kind of like moving quickly across the fretboard, but we do them all, for 1 quarter note apiece, which means the move is like, it's all happening on those beats, and that doesn't give us a lot of time to process. So if we can slow it down, kind of disconnect and really practice the chord shapes, memorizing those transformations, we're going to have a lot better chance of being able to nail it, once we start to synthesize it with all of the other right hand moves and things like that. So the 3 different chord shapes we want to work on is the first chord that we started the tune with, G6, barring across here, right? And then here, we're going to do, I'm sorry. There we go. So it's, yeah. So here, what we're playing is sort of an incomplete B shape, right? Or A shape. If this was our B we were playing here, if we take that chord and we move it up to frets 5 and 7, and then we take away our ring finger, then we've got the chord we're shooting for on beat 2 in that measure. Just like this. Right? And if we take our pointer finger, see how it's barring there, and we move it up and just bar across all the strings, that's actually the next shape we need to land on, obviously in a different position, but you can practice that transformation again without the shift. That way your hands can really memorize what you're asking them to do, right? Now, as soon as that starts to feel comfortable, you can just take this chord shape and move it up to fret 7, and then you've got the position that you want to end up on. So now if I put my ring finger down here on 9, then I get the complete chord shape where I'm landing, or you can use my pinky. Pinky feels a little bit more comfortable for me. Cool. And what's cool is the next beat is actually the exact same chord shape, but the pinky goes away, and then I hear the melody note underneath the 7th fret. So let's look at those chord shapes again. G6, all barring on 2. Now, remember, my pointer finger is already barring, so I can just shift that bar up to 5 and then drop it to the bottom strings and see my middle finger goes there. And now I just push that bar all the way across the 7th fret, and then I hear 9, and then I take it off for 7. Remember, that's happening on the A string, right? So here, G6, and then here to this version of D, and then here to E7. Right, just like that. Cool. Let's try whole notes. 1, 2, ready, and 5 and 6, incomplete A shape, and then we have this A7 with the extension on the bottom string, and then we take it, and then we're just at the chord. Last time. 2 and ready, switch. 2 and ready, switch. Good. Now remember, the goal is eventually to be able to get those to quarter notes, but you can practice them as much as you need to in those whole note structures. And remember, really trying to find commonalities between the chords, trying to find what your hands do as they transform. It's almost like you're memorizing 2 different dance steps and then trying to connect them so they look fluid. And don't forget that strategy, right? If you're holding a chord shape and then you find a new chord shape, but you have to move up 5 frets. What you can do is sort of practice the transformation in the same position, right, before you make the switch. If I'm using that G6 to that version of D as an example, you know, this change right here, if I can make the shape, you can see that's a really easy switch. I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, you could just put the middle finger down. That would make it even more effective, right? I'm barring here and I put the middle finger down, and then I've got the right chord shape just in the wrong position. Now I just shift it up to frets 5 and 6 and I got the move, right? So it's here. I'm shifting by putting my middle finger down and then shifting up here. That's a little bit of a new move to me. So if you want the shape to look really familiar, you can kind of practice that shift, right? And then shift it up to 5 and 6, right? And then here. That can make your chords a lot more connected and start to get your hands to memorize what they need to, right? You're not trying to remember 4 different pictures. You're just trying to remember a common thread through each one of those movements and kind of eventually turning it into one long movement. Okay, let's try and connect it to the part before. So, you know, out of the sort of difficult part we started with, we ended up on a C minor chord, which is 0, 3, 3, and open to catch that melody note. And if you noticed, I had been playing 3 beats of accompaniment every time we cycled through it to try and get your ear accustomed to that. Now on beat 4, what you're going to do is you're going to find the melody note on the E string and then play the open A string. So this is actually just a tiny little tail. Well, I guess it would be a head because it's at the beginning. Just a little tag that we need to add to those movements that we were just mapping out. But how we start it is on beat 4 of the measure before. We roll to this note, just, right? That's 4, and then this is 1, old. This is 2, sweet, and this is 3 and 4. Song keeps. This is about where we're going to end in terms of content today, but I really want you guys to see that if we can sequence all these things out and almost think of them in terms of each melodic phrase, then we have these things, these like parts, these mini little loops that we can practice, you know, over and over again until it starts to feel very natural, right? It starts to feel very natural and we're hearing and listening to what we're playing. So I'm just going to play it through one time and then you can jump in on the next rotation. Remember, I'm in the C minor. I roll to the E string. This is on beat 4, right? 4, and then each one of these hits is on the quarter note. Old, sweet, song keeps. Just like that, right? So if I count to 3, 1, 2, 3, roll note, just done. First chord, old, sweet, song keeps. 1, 2, 3, just an old, sweet, song keeps. 2, 3, just an old, sweet, song keeps. Last time, 1, 2, and go. Just an old, sweet, song keeps. You know, what's funny about this is I've been trying to go slow this entire lesson. And what I've realized is the song is really slow, right? So if the song is really slow, you got to go really, really slow in order to make it feel like you're giving yourself more time to make movements. So yeah, now I'm kind of thinking about it. Most of the phrases I've played is like pretty close to speed, pretty close to where I want you guys to be able to play it at. Obviously, we can take the tempo up on this tune, make it a little more upbeat. Georgia, Georgia, right? But I really love this song when it's slow, groovy, right? So yeah, just remember, think slower. Think slower than you would go normally. And then after that, think even slower than that for a lot of the exercises. Okay, cool. So I think just to finish the class, we'll go ahead and walk through each of the movements, just kind of explaining them. And then we'll just do a bunch of repetitions, right? And this is, I think, measure 1, 2, 3. I'm not exactly sure the measures because I'm not looking at it, but this is really almost through the first A section, right? The only thing we have left is Georgia on my mind, right? And we'll start getting into that next week, or you can move forward looking at that as well. So let's walk through the movements. We got starting on the G6, right? We're rolling to the A string. We're picking up the 5th fret, and then 3 beats of accompaniment, right? And then here, same thing with the B. We're rolling to the A string, finding the open A string, and then 3 beats of accompaniment. Now what we're going to do is drop this shape, E minor, first beat, 1, and then we're going to roll. Roll, pointer finger goes to 7. We're barring instantly. I play the 7th fret on the A string, and then I accompany, and now watch this pivot. I just roll into this chord, 0, 2, 0, 2. Just like that. Now my middle finger and ring finger are freed up to play this, 0, 3, 3, and 1, or 0, 0, 3, 3, and 0. And then 3 beats here, 3, and on 4 and, I'm gonna roll to the E string, play the A string, and then hit that chord, shift up. These are all in quarter notes. I'm gonna play them faster. And that's where I'm gonna stop. One little correction. I realized that this entire class, I've been saying G6, and the chord we're actually playing is G major 7 here on the 2nd fret. So I apologize about that. This is actually a G6 chord, but we're calling it an E minor 7 in this context. So yeah, G major 7 is the chord that's going to show up a lot in this first part, right? G major 7, finding that melody note. Cool. Nobody probably would have noticed if I didn't say anything. All right, let's see if we can do it. 1, 2, nice and slow. 1, 2, here we go. Georgia, 3, and go to the B. Georgia, and we're hearing that. Drop into E minor, 1, roll, 7th fret, accompany, and then here, 2 to open, and then the C minor chord. Now here's 4, roll to E, play A. Now here's this chord, G major 7, version of D, E7. Yeah, nicely done. Let's take it again. Ready, and go. Georgia. And then to the B. Georgia. E minor, 1. No peace I find. And here's 4. Just an old sweet song keeps. Last time. 1, 2, ready, and Georgia. 3, 4, Georgia. 3, 4, E minor chord. 1, no peace I find. Now we roll the E string. Just an old sweet song keeps. Georgia on my mind. All right. I think we made some good headway today. Really, really good headway. Or the next day, if you're watching this again. Thank you guys so much for your attention, for helping support and learning ukulele with me this month. And yeah, just being a part of UKLab. It's feels really good to have people working through these tunes with me. Yeah, so good luck this week. Let me know if you have any questions in the Slack feed, and we will see you guys next week. Take care. Bye-bye.